Now, recent data shows that more than 60% of Africa's population is under the age of 25, and young Africans are expected to constitute 42% of global youth. It is, however, unfortunate that Africa's growing population keeps being misrepresented across the world. The same population is vibrant and presents the continent a huge dividend to be harnessed for socio-economic transformation. And good enough, this set of population has taken it upon itself to take an active role in shaping its future and create value by seeking education and more education. It is on this premise that African Union Digital and Innovation Fellowship has come to the rescue. The fellowship program aims at identifying and deploying highly competent tech innovators and identify challenges within the system and propose solutions to them. Joining us now is Nanko Madu, Director of Programs at AfriLabs, and she will be speaking to us on the role of African youth in digital innovation and factors facilitating their development. Good to have you with us, Nanko. Talk to us about African Union digital innovation and, of course, young people there. And earlier I was asking about the fact that by 2030, young Africans expected to constitute 42% of youth globally. So what's been done to tap into this sector, as it were, of young people using digital innovation?
It's a number of things, really. First is, harnessing and upskilling, the youths, providing them with digital skills, providing them with an opportunity to express that, okay? The second is in bringing them and putting them in spaces of leadership, right? Areas and rooms where they can, contribute to the decision making of whatever is being done that harnesses innovation and technology, whether it be, in the space where policies are being crafted or in the place where they can contribute. So under the African Union Digital Innovation Program, what we've done is identify innovative and tech talent from across the continent, embed them in the African Union, place them in strategic positions where they're able to, contribute to developing tech products that enhances the processes and systems of the African Union. But beyond that, exposing them to the mandates of the African Union and giving them a platform that they're able to begin to speak and contribute to the bigger policies that come out of the African Union.
All right, Nanko, the tech space is quite competitive. What's the attraction, what's the allure for these young people? Because certainly, when you look at the US, the UK, India, China, the attraction is there and the remuneration is very, very juicy. What is the allure, what's the attraction to be able to keep young Africans in this kind of program, or to attract young Africans to this kind of program?
Okay, so we did a number of things, right? First is we designed the program to really be beneficial to the young people, right? They have their capacity being enhanced. So there's a capacity building component of the program that starts from mentoring and coaching from very high profile individuals within the ecosystem. They have the leadership, and personal growth component of that training and hands holding to build them so that at the end of the program, they come out as better leaders and change makers, in their community. Another thing is the exposure, right, to the African Union, like I said, to just the key room, where these decisions are made for Africans. So just being exposed to that. Most of them came from, their communities, and they were just at that low level looking at the African Union as a high level institution that they had no way of interacting with. So just being there, exposing them to that. And there's a job creation aspect, right? You're gainfully employed for even though it's short term for a 12-month period, you're earning money, you're being able to take care of yourself and your own family, and you're then graduated as a talent that can be tapped into. So for the first round that we've just run, we have already have fellows gainfully employed back home. Some of them are being retained by the African Union. So there's a job provision and job creation component that comes in.
Very good, Nanko. You're still talking about strategic positions here, and a few years ago, global digital providers like Microsoft, Meta have made a subtle investment in African states, specifically targeted at youth entrepreneurship. Now, we're seeing the impact of this in countries like Rwanda, and I think subtly in Nigeria as well. But how can Nigeria tap and optimize this prospect? And of course, with running situations like the AU Digital and the Innovation Fellowship Program as well.
Yeah, so one is to bring the youths closer, right? Embed them in the places that, you know, decisions are being made. I think I've mentioned this before because it's so critical. We've seen a situation in Africa where governments just adopt policies, you know, that are not necessarily tailored for the individuals, or they don't even understand the implication of those policies for their own citizens, right? But when you have the young people embedded into government agencies, then you know, they're given the opportunity to speak, to make decisions, to contribute, and their contribution is taken seriously. When that is done, then we'll begin to harness that, right? The second is then providing an enabling environment for, you know, tech talents to thrive. You mentioned at the beginning of this conversation that, you know, there's a more favorable, the developed world and the corporates provide a more favorable condition and work package, you know, for youths, and that is true. So what can we do? We can begin to reform our systems, reform our government institutions to go from the norm, you know, which is a bit backwards, if you permit me to use that word, but it's a bit old school. And if you look at the workforce, it's made up of 5 generations, but those that are very tech savvy are the Gen Zs and the millennials, and you don't find a lot of those in the system, and that is because the system is not favorable to them. And so what we can do is to reform the system. You know, I'll give you an example. If you take a government institution and say, we're going to permit for hybrid work model, you know, in this system, I'm sure it will attract and keep some youth. If you improve their work packages, so whether it's salaries or benefits, then you're able to begin in some way to compete, you know, with the alternative institutions that are outside of the country that these youths will naturally tend to go to.
All right, let's talk about barrier of entry, because certainly I'm sure this is not open to all and sundry. Do you need any requisite skill? Do you need, what do you need to be able to actually get access to this program?
A couple of things. So first is you need to be African. So any country from the 54 countries of the continent makes you eligible. You need to be a youth between the age of 18 to 35. You need to have some background in tech, and you need to demonstrate that you've been able to use that, and you're also innovative. So there's technology and then there's innovation, right? So you need to be able to demonstrate that. You need to have a couple of years of experience doing the work that you do. And those are the key criteria that enables you to participate in the program.
All right. Right, still talking about solution providers here at Nanko. So what happens beyond the fellowship program? Is there some kind of continuity with those that have benefited from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do recognize that, just bringing young people, again, the numbers, 13 of them currently, right? So it's not like a very large number, but bringing them in for 1 year and then not having a sustainability plan for them wasn't going to work. So at the big design of the program, we did have an alumni network network that it was enshrined into the design of the program. So post the program, the fellowship program, the fellows who have graduated will then be part of that network. Now, what that network does is, one, it keeps them closer to the program, to the African Union. It creates a pool, that institutions that the African Union, the GIZ, who are the funders of the program, by the way, and AfriLabs can tap into, when we need experts. It also exposes them to each other, the work that they're doing, so that they begin to tap, into that. And then in the future where, there's a need to either come together, there's a conference, a fellowship, or a need, that our first point of call to bring into such activities and events.
All right, let's talk about successes and gains of this program over the years. Talk to us.
Okay, so the program started in 2021, and so far we have implemented just one cohort. 13 fellows, embedded or deployed to the African Union, wrapping up, their fellowship program. So far, we've developed 11 tech solutions for the African Union that are being used. We have been able to also successfully bring in inclusion. At the beginning of the program, we had the mandate to have like a gender inclusion, where we have 40% of the fellows being female, and I'm happy to say that so far we have 60% women, who are now part of the fellows, and they came in, on merit basis. We also have, like I mentioned earlier, one fellow who has successfully gained employment even before, the end of, the fellowship program back in Lesotho. And then we have 2 of the fellows that have been retained by their units. Now, 6 of these fellows, who initially were supposed to have wrapped up by January this year, were given an extension. And this just goes to show that the African Union finds them very useful to the department. And so they requested for us to, give them an extension, and the program was able to accommodate that. I mentioned earlier job creation. We've been able to give these 13 fellows employment. And one of the critical gains for me is just bringing the youths, the digital and innovation ecosystem, which AfriLabs, works in, together, with the African Union. They're now on the same table, having conversations together, being represented together. The African Union is seeing what the youths are doing, is seeing what the digital technology and innovation ecosystem is doing, and vice versa. So it has created like a bridge, between the African Union and the ecosystem.
All right, interesting development there. Nanko Madu, Director of Programs, AfriLab, many thanks for your perspective on the African Union digital innovation and, of course, the prospect for young people. It's good to have you with us.